Hello, this training video will cover the different financial services that the SABSC performs for ResLife. This video is compiled and presented by the Student Affairs Business Service Center at Boston College. The SABSC is part of the Office of the Vice President for Student Affairs. The Student Affairs Business Service Center is located on the 4th floor of Maloney Hall, Suite 458. If you have any questions about the information in this training, please feel free to contact us. You are also encouraged to stop by our office in Maloney Hall, Suite 458 during regular business hours. This video will cover information relevant to services offered by the SABSC to the Office of Residential Life. The role of the SABSC is to oversee a number of financial transactions for the Division of Student Affairs. These services include reimbursements, payments to vendors, purchase orders, fund transfers, deposits, and e-markets. The office also handles the ordering of P-cards and managing on-campus job postings for student affairs departments. ResLife staff can expect to make purchases for a number of relevant programs. These purchases include programming, employee training, conference travel expenses, and emergency and crisis response expenses. The preferred method of submission is by email to sabsc@bc.edu. There are a number of classifications of payments for use. These include the P-card, both corporate and Department American Express cards, voucher checks, and purchase orders. The most commonly used forms are the employee payment, student reimbursement, outside vendor payment, e-market, and deposit forms. If you have any questions concerning filling it out, you can reference the How to Ensure Effective Processing on the final page of the form. This is on all forms. Here are screenshots showing how to navigate our website. To get to our financial forms page, start at our home page, hover over the Administrators tab, and select Department Resources. This will take you to the Payment Forms page, and you can view and select the form you need. To see if there are any updates or reminders, you can visit our SABSC Update and Reminder page. To get there, start at our home page, hover over the Administrators tab, and select SABSC Updates and Reminders. Here I will discuss the process of giving and receiving reimbursements for work and billing expenses. If an employee spends their own money on ResLife purchases, they are eligible to be reimbursed by the university. Use the date of the receipt when filling out the date of the expense on the cover sheet. Please make sure the chart string and authorization signatures are correctly entered and provided. Note the 3 criteria for Uber or Lyft reimbursements. Airbnb stays are prohibited for BC students. Next, I will cover how to handle proof of payment receipts. Proof of payment is required for all reimbursable expenses as well as outside individuals seeking reimbursement of any kind from BC. Original itemized receipts with the last 4 digits of the card number shown on it must be turned in along with either form when seeking reimbursement. If a check is used, submit a copy of the front and back of the check once it has been processed by the bank. Be sure to black out any sensitive banking account information. If a credit or debit card is used, an itemized credit card receipt containing the last 4 digits of the credit card can be submitted with the reimbursement. If the receipt does not have the last 4 digits of the card, a bank statement showing the charges is required. A SABSC expense report and BC employee payment form are required for all travel-related reimbursements. These forms can be found on the SABSC website. The mileage rate and any additional travel information for personal vehicle usage can be found at the link provided. For all food and dining expenses, a list of attendees is also required. If the list of attendees exceeds 25 individuals, a list is not needed and should just say 25 plus. A BC employee payment form is used if requesting a payment to a BC employee for reimbursement or work done outside of their primary job function at the university. Employees may be reimbursed up to 100% of the money that they spent out of pocket. A student reimbursement form is used to reimburse a Boston College student for a BC-related expenditure. This form should not be used to request payment to a BC student for services rendered. If a student pays out of pocket and wishes to be reimbursed by your department, please fill out the BC student reimbursement form. Students may be reimbursed up to 100% of the money that they spent out of pocket. Next, I will cover the process of making payments to an outside vendor. The outside vendor payment form should be used to pay an organization or non-BC individual outside of Boston College. In order to request a payment for an outside merchant, vendors that have never previously done business with BC must first complete a W-9 tax form in order to receive a BC vendor identification number. The electronic W-9 can be found on the provided link or on our website in the Department Resources section at the top of the page. With the outside vendor payment form, it is required that an invoice includes a remit address. Once processed, vendors will receive payment either via mail or electronic fund transfer. Make sure to attach an invoice or contract with this form. When filling out the form, only one invoice per outside vendor form is permitted. Also, for date of expense, put the invoice date or the date the contract was signed. Please note that Boston College does not process advance payments to outside vendors. Also, payments of cash, personal check, or credit card for labor-intensive purposes are strictly prohibited and will not be reimbursed. Shown on the screen is the outside payment form. Highlighted is the information critical to ensure proper processing. Now I will cover travel advances. The travel advance form is intended for prepaid expenses such as airline and hotel deposit expenses. This form, shown on the next screen, should be filled out and submitted along with confirmation of booking for the flight or hotel reservation. Again, make sure all chart string information is included and is completed accurately when filling out the travel advance form. Funds used for these expenses are not pulled from the budget until after the trip, when reconciliation is completed. Reconciliation of a travel advance is done by completing the BC employee payment form as well as the SABSC expense report form. For international travel, BC individuals must complete the travel registry by going to the travel registry link. Please include the travel approval email from Global Engagement Gateway when submitting paperwork. For additional information on international travel, you can go to the Global Engagement Gateway webpage. As per university protocol, a request for a travel advance can be submitted when university travel imposes a financial burden on individuals involved. The travel advance form, which can be found on the SABSC website, must be signed and received by the SABSC at least 2 weeks prior to the trip. Again, the travel advance form must be completed accurately with the correct chart string information, and confirmation of the booking must be submitted and all payments must be documented. Boston College considers the travel advance to be a loan. Therefore, each advance must be settled within 30 days of return from travel through the reconciliation process addressed above. For employees who have yet to reconcile previously issued advances, new advances will not be issued. As mentioned previously, upon return from travel, a BC employee payment and SABSC expense report form are required for all travel-related reimbursements. If you went on a foreign trip, use the OANDA link on slide 13 for currency exchange rates when submitting your expense report. These forms can be found on the SABSC website in the Department Resources section under Payment Forms. Now I will cover the process for award and honorarium payments. An award or honorarium payment is used when giving a monetary amount to an individual professional in recognition of a service or achievement. Honorariums are used to give Boston College faculty and staff, as well as outside speakers and scholars. Honorariums cannot be given to students. A W-9 is required to process this payment. This form can be found electronically using the same link on slide 11 or on our website in Department Resources section at the top of the page. An award is used to acknowledge a student for an achievement. Award and honorarium payments are made in the same manner as an outside vendor payment. However, with an award or honorarium, a contract is not required. If you do have a contract or invoice, please utilize the outside vendor payment form. The next slide I will discuss is how to request a transfer of funds. When a department wishes to transfer funds from its chart string or account to another Student Affairs Department chart string, it may do so by requesting a fund transfer. This method is predominantly used in this co-sponsorship of an event. Because of the nature of this form, accurate chart string information is essential. The department requesting the funds to be transferred out to another department must be the one to initiate this process. The department set to receive the funds should then be aware of the transfer and be able to monitor its progress. Please allow 14 business days following the request submission for a transfer to be completed. Additionally, note that a transfer request does not apply for paying invoices to the Bureau of Conferences at Boston College, also known as Event Management. Now I will discuss the handling of purchase orders. A purchase order, or PO, is a promise to pay a vendor for a future expense with the exception of bus charters. After the purchase is cleared by procurement, submit the PO for processing. The form must be filled out completely and accurately and is used for purchases $10,000 or greater. When using a purchase order, please consult the quick guidelines to making a purchase on the procurement website using the link provided. University policy requires that the competitive bids be obtained by procurement services from at least 3 qualified vendors when available, for all orders totaling $10,000 or more, and completion of a sole source form. Any deviation from this policy requires written justification and evidence from the requisitioner to procurement prior to commitment of an order. The sole source form should be submitted with your purchase order request. Following the submission of the request, the newly generated PO number will be emailed to the listed contact person, which should be provided to the appropriate vendor for invoicing. Prior to submitting the final PO invoice that is over $10,000 to SABSC, you must have the appropriate department initials on it. The processing of the purchase order can take 7 to 10 business days. Here are screenshots of PO and sole source forms. Please make sure all the required information is provided accurately. There are opportunities to collect revenue throughout the fiscal year. First, we'll start with eMarket. eMarket is the e-commerce site for Boston College and is the preferred method of revenue collection. Utilization of this resource is required and can be used to conduct business operations such as collecting dues or the sale of tangible goods like t-shirts or hoodies. Again, this is the preferred method of revenue collection above all others for both security and practicality purposes. The added benefit to utilizing eMarket is that funds are automatically deposited in your department's account. Keep in mind that it may take up to 2 weeks to set up your event, so please plan accordingly. Here is an example of the eMarket request form. Lastly, remember that all closed eMarket accounts must be reconciled before a new one may be opened. Here is an example of the eMarket reconciliation form. In this slide, I will discuss the handling of deposits for collected revenues. When an eMarket cannot be used for revenue collection, the SABSC can process deposits. Deposits should be submitted Monday through Friday to SABSC and are typically processed on Thursdays, unless specified as a rush. Do not leave a deposit in the SABSC inbox. Please note, if a cash bag or box are required, one should notify the SABSC 2 days in advance. In addition to filling out the deposit form, please make sure the back is sealed and the authorized signature is signed on the back. All departments in Student Affairs may order P-cards for new employees or cancel any active P-cards through the SABSC. To order a new card, send an email to sabsc@bc.edu with the new cardholder's name, Eagle ID, and the chart string that the card should be attached to. To cancel a card, only the chart string and the cardholder's name are required. After ordering a new card, the new cardholder will be contacted directly by the SABSC when it arrives to pick up at the SABSC office. Please be aware that this can take 2 to 3 weeks. The card will already be activated by the SABSC. In this slide, I will be discussing the handling of corporate and department American Express cards. When using the corporate American Express card, you as the cardholder are responsible for signing up for the card and paying billing expenses, for which you will be reimbursed through the SABSC. To apply for an American Express corporate card, please email Jonathan Heinrichs. The Department American Express card or Business Travel Account card is intended for group travel expenses and booking travel for those not employed by Boston College. This card should only be used to make airline, hotel, rental car, and other related reservations. The monthly Amex bill for department cards is paid as a voucher and should be submitted to the SABSC within 1 week of the end of the billing cycle. To apply for an American Express department card, please email Anna Bronco. To cancel an active American Express card in your department, please email Anna Bronco and provide the cardholder's name. The credit card number is not required to cancel an active card. Additional information can be found at the link provided. Some miscellaneous points to be made aware of. Preferred method for submission of paperwork is email at sabsc@bc.edu. If a student has an inquiry pertaining to any financial paperwork, have them contact club.budget@bc.edu for assistance. Use MapQuest or Yahoo Map printouts for mileage reimbursements. For foreign travel, you can use awanda.com for conversion unless credit card companies already do it for you. Staff supplemental payment requests must be submitted to Judy Ferris, not to the SABSC. For assistance viewing or interpreting any of your department's ACRs, please click on the appropriate link shown on the slide. Next, we are going to go over some examples on paperwork submission. Keep in mind that the outside vendor payment forms should be filled out using one invoice per form. Make sure for outside vendor form you reference the invoice date rather than the date that the form was submitted on. Make sure that the employee payment form is filled out using the correct chart string information and contains an accurate list of attendees for the event on the receipt. Remember that any conference registrations should be included in the travel advance submission or paid for by a P-card. Annual membership or subscription fees can be submitted by either an employee payment form or paid for with a P-card. Please contact the SABSC directly should you encounter any difficulties or have any questions by sending an email to sabsc@bc.edu or stopping by our office in Maloney Hall, room 458, during regular business hours.